Welcome back everyone. In this video we're going to create a navigational link system. You can see here that I've made additions to the previous wireframe and I've just added in a navigation with several links. So what we're going to do is create the HTML and also CSS rules to define this navigation. So the first thing we want to do is, because our navigation is within our header, let's go to our header and let's add in our navigation. So it's a nav tag, and then within that nav tag we want to put a unordered list, and within that unordered list we want to create various list items, in this case LIs, and then let's end our unordered list here. Now the values contained within these LIs are going to be, in this case I'm just going to create default links with the text of link. We're not going to link to any separate pages at this stage, they're simply there just to view those various links. So in order to create a link we use an A tag and we create an href to in this case a dummy link. I'm going to write in the text link, end by A tag, and we can create 4 of those. So that's going to be our content for our HTML as represented over here. So the next step we want to do is style this particular page. So what I will do is, as before, I will move this to a separate screen and we can visualize how the CSS is constructed. So we can see here that the links have been created, but it's not in a visual aesthetic that we saw in that wireframe design. So if I bring that over, you can see that it's certainly not the way that we wanted it to look. So now what we want to do is start to style this and make it look like the page that we saw or see here in the wireframe. So the first step that we want to do is that we want to go into our My Styles and let's create the navigational element. So, well actually let's default our tags. So we want to default our nav tag, we want to default our UL tag, and we want to default our LI tags. And we can now see that those have been defaulted and all of the margins and padding and all the rest of it has been removed. So the next step that we want to do is we want to create our nav, our UL, and our LI rules. For our navigation, we want that to be in a box floating to the right hand side, for instance, so we want to float that to the right. Let's make it about say 50% of our header width. Let's give it a height of say 50 pixels. Background colour of a light blue. That'll do. And let's just see what that looks like. So we now want to put a bit of margin in on the top, and let's try 50 pixels. There we go. So we've now aligned our box, our navigational box, to this particular point here. But we need to add in a little bit of this margin and padding and various other things to get that to look right. So the first step we want to do is we want that little bit of padding around here. So in our header, let's now add in some padding, so 10 pixels, and now we've generated that additional padding for our box here. So we've now got our box, we've got our various links. And now we want to start formulating the rules for our various links here. So the first step that we want to do is remove these dot points here. So if we go onto our UL now, notice that this is for any UL. So if I had a unordered list in here or here, this would affect these rules. We don't actually want to do that. We only want to affect the ULs that are contained within the navigation. So what we do is we place navigation in front here, and this will say that only those ULs that belong within navigational tags will have this rule assigned to it. And then we want to say list style is none. And that now removes those dot points. Next step we want to do is get these links to display horizontally across the page. So we come into the LI, we want to do the same thing here. We want to say only those LIs that belong to a nav and an unordered list. We now want to say those LIs, we want to put those centered, and we want to display them in line. So let's display in line, which we can see now displays them across, and we want to center those. So we go text, align, center. And you won't see anything happen just yet, but within each of those LI items, that text will now align centrally within those. So let's continue styling. Let's say float those objects to the left. You can say width 100 pixels. We give them a background color, which is pink, similar to the side, and let's see what that looks like. And now let's put in some margin, say 10 pixels. So you can see now that it's just floating outside of our box. Now, our original side we actually set to a width of 33%. So really what we should be doing is measuring this and creating a proper size for each of these. So if we did that, it'd be around about 400 plus some margin. So let's say 450 pixels. Apologies, that's from the side. In our navigation, I meant, say 450 pixels. So it's a little bit too small still, so 480. So there we go, so it's about right. Probably could be a little bit less. No, it is 480 pixels, that's fine. So that aligns each of those navigational links there. Now we want to remove the height from our navigation, which is good. So we've now removed that height. We might want to bring that down just a little bit more. There we go. So it's now starting to align. If we bring our design over, we now see our design sort of coming to fruition here. But our links don't look very nice. Still, we need to put hovering effects and other things onto those particular links. So to do that, we create several new rules. We create rules for the link. We create a rule for hovering effects. And we create a rule for visited, so we don't have purple. And we create a rule for active pages. Actually, it's important to make sure that these are in the correct order, as they can cause varying things. So we've got our link, our visited, our hover effect, and our active pages. So the first thing we want to do now is under our linked, we want to make sure that our text was black, so our color we want to set to black. And we want to get rid of those underlines there. So we've now got black, so we want to get rid of these underlines. So we go text decoration is now set to none. And now we've removed those underlines on those various links there. Next, if we visit a link, we want to make sure that there's no purple. So we just want to say that a visited link, for instance, is going to be, now we could make it the same colour so that there's no differentiation between a visited link or another. So we'll make sure we set that to the same. When we hover over a link, we might want to have some various colour here. So let's say we want it to be a white, for instance. Now if we see this, we can see now that we have a white hovering effect when we move over our various links. And then finally, We want to set the colour or style of an active page, for instance. And say, for instance, on an active page, we might want to put the underline back. So if we say we want to put the underline back, we can go text decoration, and we can set that back to underline, for instance. And so if you hold over, so it's active, you'll see that the underline reappears on that particular page. Now that's good. What we can also do is set specific rule sets for a page itself to be active. And to do this, we have to make modifications to the HTML and also to our CSS. So to do that, firstly we go into our source code, and we can put a class in here. So depending on which link is the current active page, we can actually add a class in here. So if we say class, and for that particular class we want to say equals active. So we've now created a new class inside of this particular structure here. So I'm just going to go over slightly so you can see it. And then in our styles, we can actually create a new style. Now this one will be active as we're clicking on the link. But notice the difference here. If we put a dot here, it's actually using a class. So now watch what happens and see how our current page has now got a underline, but as we click on the various pages we can get varying underlines. So that's how we would create a basic navigational system using CSS and HTML. You can see that it matches our design here, and it's got a nice aesthetic. We've got a hover over, we've got an active page, and we've created the various effects there.